All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here with us tonight, and special thanks to Charn Shakar from Creative with Clay. He is one of my favorite creative people in the world, simply because he doesn't know how to do one thing at a time, which I really enjoy. And everything he does do, he does extremely well. And as somebody that considers themselves sort of an anti-artist, somebody who has no artistic talent at all, I really admire Charn a lot. Also, uh, just such a good guy and a longtime vendor of ours at Stitches. Charn, it's wonderful to have you here with us. I can't wait for you to share kind of what we're talking about tonight. So please, at whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Benjamin, for that wonderful introduction. Yes, I do like to do a lot of things. I don't know if I do everything well, but I try, and I always go deep dive down into whatever I indulge in. So that's one way that I approach things. And like most of you must have known, if you have seen me vend at Stitches, I am known for my pottery and all my mugs and all my pieces which are inspired from fabric. But this time I'm bringing to you what I've started up with quilting, and we'll get to the main quilt we are going to talk about. But I just wanted to give you a little brief history of my indulging into quilting and why it happened and how it happened. Um, so I haven't been quilting at all. I've had a sewing machine. I've never used a sewing machine. I got a sewing machine from Costco maybe like 8 or 9 years back because I needed some pants hemmed, and they came home. My mother-in-law was here. She helped me hem them up, and I was like, what do I do with the sewing machine? And she was like, keep it, you'll use it for something. And for 8 years, nothing happened. It just sat there. And 2020 happened. So we were sitting at home, and I decided that, I might as well do something with it. So I took, what's it called? What's a mystery quilt along? Yeah, if you have knitting, yeah, it's a mystery quilt along. And that's what this was, where it was like, okay, cut up blocks. We were not told what the final quilt will be, but we were given instructions how to cut up everything. And so I followed instructions. And the final assembly of the quilt is not what I liked how the blocks are going to be. So I jumbled them up the way I like it. And this is the quilt that came about. And I did this with a few friends of mine, and they kept stressing so much on how points should meet, which I stressed over equally. And I tried my best. And I think I did a pretty good job of, putting it together. You can see in the close up, my points do meet. So now when people look at my quilt and tell me, I can show you how to make points meet, I said, no, I know how to do it. I just don't want to do it. So, but I did get this quilted by my friend. She has a long arm. I had no experience in quilting anything together. So I gave it to her. I said, quilt it, and I gifted it to my friend's grandchild. And the one thing was, I was extremely bored making this quilt once I put the pieces together. I cut it up, I could visualize how it was, and I knew I wanted something different. And so that's when I started playing. And this is kind of like what we were talking about previously as to, scraps of fabric, any size, any shape. So this was one experiment I tried. Plus, I joined an online improv quilting school, which is called Brave Patch. And it is hosted by Sherry Linwood. If people might be familiar with her book of improv quilting, she's very well known for it. And so she has an online class workshop. It's like a monthly thing, kind of like a Patreon almost. We have monthly meetings, and I joined that just to learn more about this, improv process of making quilts. So you kind of like, if you look on the left side, you kind of curate your fabrics and like, okay, I'm going to use all these fabrics and I'm just going to make something with it. Like, okay, if they are the same length, I'll join them together. I pick and choose whether I want those colors to go together. If it's not long enough, I'll add a tiny piece so that it's long enough. And I'll make these slightly bigger slabs and then rearrange the slabs and then kind of put them together. And the final quilt is what you see on the right-hand side. And since at that time too, I wasn't very familiar with machine quilting, I decided to hand quilt the whole thing. So that's all done with big stitches. And it was a very peaceful process. It was a time when my dog had just gone through surgery and he wanted someone sitting next to him at all times. So that whole thing got quilted while I was pet sitting him. So it introduced me to a whole process of, you know, coming to peace with things and like how knitting has been and spinning has been. And so quilting kind of started that up. Um, Another kind of process which I developed from there was, you kind of, you never know how these ideas are going to develop. And the way I see improv quilting is you don't know what's going to influence you. And like this particular quilt, this has a lot of my shirts, a lot of scrap pieces. Anything I could find in a blue and purple shade was not safe around me. Everything got cut up. And I wanted to make bow ties kind of things. And everything is cut without a ruler, even the previous quilt. Nothing is cut with a ruler. I stopped using a ruler completely. It was all cut freehand and nothing is measured. If a piece is, 5 inches, then it gets cut into a 5 inch. If it's a long rectangle piece, then it cuts into a long rectangle piece. But I just wanted to make bow tie pieces. And once I made those, I tried arranging them in different ways. Then I thought I would space them all out with negative space in between, but nothing was coming about. But and at then one point I said, okay, I need to slice these in half and see what happens. So when I slice this in half, I learned that the kind of piece you get is what is called a flying geese quilting block. And so I started playing around with those triangle shapes then. And you can see on the right-hand side that, I started arranging them in these horizontal lines. My wife walked into the room and she's like, oh, you're making alligator teeth. And I'm like, I guess I'm making alligator teeth. I don't know what that is, but like, I don't know what was happening with the quilt. And the thing is, you just stick with the process. And then I had several of them in rows, and then it kind of looked like very weird alligator teeth, which are going from left to right. And this whole thing struck me. I said, well, what if I turn them all vertically and let them go from top to bottom? And instantly it was my love for spinning and the look of wool locks, uh, and I was spinning wool locks while I was doing this as well. So it just kind of came together. And when you look at the start of that quilt, there was no connection to, I didn't have this idea that, oh, I want to make a wool lock quilt. It's like you start with something and you wait, you wait for what it wants to be. You go with a very improv yes and attitude that, okay, I cut it up, now it doesn't look right. Now all my points, my triangles had these nice points on it at the top. Once I started seaming them up, they all kind of got blunted up, right? Because you lose that stuff in the seam. But losing that, it kind of made them very round and made them, swirl just like a wool lock would. And if I would have planned to do this, I would have probably left a little more margin and they would be all pointy on the sides, which might not have looked good. So really, the pieces and, what what influences you, I think really shows up in the kind of work you do. At least that's the way it works for me. This brings me to the next quilt I started. This time I went through my stash and I had a bunch of these strips in different shades of yellow and blue. And there was no particular reason. This was like back in early February. I was getting, ready for the first shows. And in order to motivate me to work, sometimes I need to have a fun project to work on, or entice myself that, oh, if I make so many mugs for a show or whatever, then this is what I'll get to play with afterwards. So that's how it kind of started. Like, I just started pulling out all these so all the print fabrics that you see, the smaller pieces, that's what I started pulling together, and just started joining them randomly, adding strips in between. Then after piecing them up, I cut them up again, and everything is again cut freehand. Sometimes I intentionally cut a very curved line. Sometimes I cut a very straight line. It just whatever I felt like. And so once I had those pieces, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll surround each of these print blocks as such with a solid fabric. And this is again not coming from any point of view as to I want to make a quilt for a certain purpose. It's like it could be a placemat at the end of it. Like, I don't even know whether that's going to happen. And so I started bordering them each with a solid piece of fabric, and then I started kind of cleaning them up and assembling them. And this was kind of the stage where I was stuck at really bad. The picture on the left is like how the pieces were coming together, and I was just putting them on the design wall. And I said, well, it's a quilt, it needs to be square. So I started, arranging them like a jigsaw puzzle. And I said, okay, now that's a square quilt. That it can be a quilt, and I can call it done and be done with it. I wasn't still very happy because it wasn't saying anything to me. And this was right around the time when Russia, attacked Ukraine. And it's like hearing stuff in the news, it was happening, and I was looking at things, people were doing things to support them. And it was going on in the background for me. Uh, it got a lot more. I hope I don't choke up saying that, but it got more intense when I started seeing the civilian families. Coming from, I was born in Kuwait. I lived for 16 years in Kuwait, and we used to travel to India every year. But it was only and so we were in India, for vacations every year. And when the Gulf War happened, we were actually, for a summer vacation. So we didn't experience the struggle of, leaving a country that has been attacked by someone and doing it. But we heard firsthand stories from so many friends of ours. You know, they are most of our friends, they stayed in the school out there. And because they said, okay, you leave your homes and everything, you stay in schools, they're safer places, they can, they provide whatever protection that can be there. And then when I hear things about Ukraine, where there are schools being hit and hospitals being hit, where people are taking refuge, like, I'm glad that none of our family and friends had to go through those troubles. But just the whole struggle of what you eat every day and how you live in close quarters, like, we are all very independent to live in our houses and everything. It's very hard when suddenly, like, you have to leave everything behind and just stay in those small quarters. And then the first news that you get that, okay, there is a flight that the Indian government has, set up for flying you all off to India, you just jump on it. You don't think about, you even have your shoes or whatever. It's like whatever you can take with you, you have taken with you, and you just want to get home. And people were landing up in Mumbai. Many people knew my mom because she used to teach in school. So they used to just ask for a number because they knew she was in Mumbai. And most of the Indians in Kuwait was from the southern part of India. So they used to just call us from the airport that, hey, we are here. So we used to land up going to the Mumbai airport maybe twice or thrice a day to pick up somebody from the airport. We used to get them home. And we got to hear a lot of these stories as to how hard it was for them to get out. And hearing now what's happening in Ukraine, it's just like a lot more. We didn't hear anything as bad as what I'm seeing on the news these days. So I started feeling a lot for what was happening there. Plus, at the same time, I didn't know what this quilt was becoming. And I started thinking about it, started talking with, the people on that Brave Path school that I really want to make this quilt bigger. And at that time, again, the whole Ukraine thing had not struck in my head. But because it was in the background, I started, so this is just laying out on my floor, on the carpet floor. And then I started picking out, I just put that big, bright piece of blue piece of fabric there and started arranging the pieces and placing them, just composing the whole thing just as I felt right to me. And then the more yellow and blue pieces got in, and it just started representing Ukraine, what I was seeing in the news. It just started making such a strong connection as I was working on it and just rearranging the pieces. So at this point, I was like, okay, this is what is happening. It's pushing me towards making a quilt for Ukraine, I guess. So I guess that's what I'm going to make. I even posted, I think when I posted this picture on Instagram and stuff at that time too, I think I just said that, okay, I'm going to make a Ukraine colors inspired quilt, but I really didn't know where it would go or how I would really compose it or whether I'll even be able to do it because it's a lot more complex than the previous quilts I had done. And this is the quilt top, which is finished. And you can see there was a lot of things that kept getting moved around. And every time you piece two pieces together, which you think fit together, you put them together. Now, I'll go back to the previous image, actually, which I think is also interesting as to why it moved from, I could have finished the quilt as it is, there are blocks floating around on solid backgrounds and it works. But seeing that I was making this quilt top for Ukraine, seeing how the world is so connected now, I kind of wanted all my blocks to connect. I wanted each block to be connected to somebody else. I wanted the lines of connection going all over. And it might, it might not be obvious once you see the square, but if you actually pay close attention to it, there is no single floating block which is just lying alone. Every block is connected to something else with a same color that kind of connects it. And there are these very thin lines sometimes. Sometimes there are very strong bold lines that are connecting them. Some pieces are hanging from a thread almost. But I kind of wanted to create that tension and that feeling of connection between, there are people in Ukraine, there are people in the US and all over the world that are helping. And everyone has different opinions on different things, but how we are all connected, in this world and how we could help each other in any way we can. And this is what kind of then pushed me that, okay, I really want to finish this quilt and I would like to raise money for the civilians there, the refugees there. And so this is the quilt I finished. I completed it in record time once that thing struck in my head that, okay, this is the purpose I'm making it for. I wanted to finish it as soon as possible. Hence, my mug orders are a little bit delayed than they should have been. But people have been understanding. And I put this quilt up together. I think I have the final dimensions on it on the last slide, which I will share. But the whole thing is completely quilted. And you can see the details. I did machine quilt it because I did want to get through it faster. And it went so smoothly. This is the biggest quilt I've made so far. I've not made anything so big. So there was a lot of challenges in spite of just piecing it together. And it is it is definitely one of my favorite quilts right now. It did teach me a lot. Plus, there is just so much emotional connection with it that I I felt that I'm glad that I I can at least push people to raise money for the Ukraine refugees. Now, I did think of different ways of doing this. I thought of having a raffle ticket and then raffling it off. But then again, I didn't know what price to put on a ticket. I didn't want people to feel uncomfortable about, putting, well, I can give just $5. I can give 10. There are people who can give 250. Like, I didn't know how exactly to do it and be fair. So, and plus I didn't want to collect money and then send money off from me, because I feel, if everyone is contributing, everyone should. Uh, this is the back of the quilt. It has my label on it, and it has a hanging sleeve. So, you can hang it up in the wall if you want, but it's totally machine washable. It already has been washed because I love the crinkled look that quilts get once they're washed. But coming back to the donation part, instead of, me collecting money and donating it, what I decided to do was, you can make a donation to any humanitarian charities that you are familiar with or you're comfortable to donating. I have a few suggestions out here. The United Help Ukraine, which is on the Facebook link that I have, but anywhere, if you have donated anywhere across, it's fine. If you have purchased a class which is giving donations towards the thing, that's fine. Anything that you have done towards Ukraine Red Cross, UNICEF, it's all good. All I request you to do is, if you do want to be entered to win, or even if you don't want to be entered to win, email me and let me know that yes, you have donated, so I can just tally up how much money that we did collect with this. And in addition to that, if you don't want to enter the raffle to win, if you're not interested in getting a quilt, if you have 50 quilts, that's the quilt. If you already have a lot of quilts and you don't want that, you can just let me know. Hold on just a second.
Dog break.
Yeah, it's Amazon Prime. So so yeah, you can just email me creativewithclay@yahoo.com with the amount you donated. If you don't wish to win the quilt, you can just let me know. Don't enter me in the raffle, but this is how much I donated, so I can know the amount. But yeah, by default, I am including everyone's email into the raffle. It's not a raffle, it's a drawing or whatever you can call it. So, and it doesn't need to be of any particular amount, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever organization you want to donate it is fine. I'll be drawing the name on April 14th. And I've not decided on what time yet. It'll just depend on what time I figure out when to tally everything up and do it. But April 14th, I will draw the name, get in touch with the person, and mail them the quilt. Now, the quilt dimensions, 70 inches by 52 inches. And as I mentioned, it's machine washable. And it's all, a practical quilt to use, or you can just hang it up on the wall. I have other suggestions out here. If you are interested in the improv quilt process, these are the few people I have been following and learning a lot from recently. And I've been doing improv quilting only for a year. So Sherry Linwood, Irene Roderick, who is Hicksonier, Tales of a Stitcher is Maria Schell, and Nicholas Cage is, Nicholas Ball, sorry, Quilts from the Attic. So yeah, that is that. And I think I've just maybe one last slide. Yeah, that's just contact. If you have anything else you want to contact me about, any other suggestions or anything, I'm open. You can always send me a message on Instagram or email, and we can, chat about stuff. But yeah, I think that's it. Unless I'm open to questions. Anyone have questions about either the process of what I'm doing or anything else?
Well, one thing I'd
I've
like to
enjoyed.
ask, Charan, is would you send me the text from those last two slides? We'll put it in an email update
Yeah,
to make sure that all of our people get that information.
yeah, definitely. I'll email
But
that to you.
beautiful quilt, by the way. I mean,
Thank you.
exceptional. And thank you so much for spending the time to talk with us about this tonight. I think there's, we always think to ourselves, what should we do? What should we do? And this is good stuff. It's good inspiration, and doesn't surprise me that you're at the front of this. So, without that, anybody have any questions or comments that you'd like to make? Please raise your hand in the participants panel, and I'll get you here. Anybody? There's got to be somebody. Hold on. Cynthia, I see that you're unmuted. Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, I was trying to get my hand raised.
Yeah.
A couple things. This is fabulous. And I think one thing was just serendipity that you started this quilt before the invasion. But the quilt shows that the world is behind Ukraine and everything is connected. One additional charity that I would mention is Chef Jose Andres's World Central Kitchen. They've been on the ground feeding the refugees since the beginning. And I've donated a lot to them. So I think that's another charity that you might want to donate to. And then also, I hate for you to be saddled with shipping this. I would suggest that you ask for the shipping cost from whoever wins the quilt. And this quilt is fabulous.
Well, thank you. But yeah, shipping cost is fine. Yes, I'm donating my time, and I've donated towards Ukraine and done all of that too. So just adding another shipping cost is not a big deal. But yeah, I don't want anyone to think about that. I just want people to donate. That's it.
Yeah, but I mean, this quilt is fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, the World Kitchen was suggested by someone else too. I was going to put it in, but I'll put that in.
Yeah, he is always on the ground, feeding people when there's disasters. And he was right there, right at the beginning. And he's been in Ukraine, as dangerous as it is. Chef Andres has actually been there.
Carol B., did you have something you wanted to say?
Just wanted to say that I've really enjoyed watching you make the quilt on Instagram, and seeing it finished is just a joy. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's, I have shared my previous quilts before, how I've gone about and, gotten good responses and everything. And actually, I forgot to mention this. I think I posted about this maybe 2 weeks back regarding the donation. Up till now, there has, sorry about that. So up till now, we have raised close to $1,600, from all the emails I have gotten. So that's promising, but I would like to have a bigger number there so that just more people get more. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna put it out on our channel here and get a blog post up quick as we can, and see if we can't reach out to our folks to help not only contribute but to share the information as well.
Yeah.
I ask anybody of you here, please feel free. Once that is up, please you'll get an email. Please feel free to share what I put out there as well. Any other questions? Any other comments? Z, yes, Z, you're on. You're muted.
Muting myself. There we go. Hi, Sharad. I've always been a fan of your work over the past couple of years. I have more mugs than I know what to do with, and more of your little dishes that are so adorable that I know what to do with. And I just have to say that I've always heard that you can feel an artist's spirit when you hold an object that they've made. And just watching you present to us and telling us the story of this quilt, and just seeing the real heartfelt emotion and generosity you have put into this work is just incredible. And I just applaud you. You're my hero today. You really are. You're doing some phenomenal things. So I just want to say thank you.
You know, that's a good idea. I think while we're in the mood, can I have everybody unmute themselves? And I think it's time we give Sharon a big round of applause. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I do what I can. I don't set out with big goals like this is what my intention is. I think things just happen. So I just push towards whatever I feel is right, and then go from there.
I've got a little bit of something with the TV on in the background. Does anybody have a TV on in the background? Okay, it's gone now. Thanks.
There we go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I really do appreciate you, Sharon. I mean, you know, it's you know, people don't always understand that you're a one-man band.
Yes.
And you know, I think you've given up sleep a couple of years ago, right? I mean,
yeah, that's happened. Like I wish I had, like, earlier I used to say I wish I had 2 of me. Now I say wish I had 4 of me to do all the things I want to do. And you know, I sometimes even fear posting all this stuff online that, hey, I'm quilting, I'm working on this quilt and stuff like that, because it's, you know, there are people who are waiting for their mug order, and they're going like, hey dude, are you starting another quilt? You still haven't shipped my mug. And I'm thinking that, you know, this is my life. My Instagram is not something that's handled by somebody else. I'm the person who's posting things. What I'm doing is what I'm posting. Whatever's happening in my life, I'm posting. And if this is what is happening, it's happening. I think if you do follow my Instagram and, you know, further move on, and then you see how the ceramic work gets influenced by the things that I do, it's all related. I cannot just be like, no, I'm social media, I'm all about just selling my mugs and that's it. No, there is a lot that goes behind every artist, whatever they do, you know.
right. Like you have to make butter dishes and then resent them.
Yes. And then go like, I'm never making them again.
Never making them again. I mean, you know, absolutely. I completely understand that. But, you know, I think you have such big fans out there that they sort of get it. And I think that somebody that understands who you are will wait for a product from Creative with Clay. I mean, so I know I would.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But I mean, you're in the right crowd, because there was people here in this crowd that started out as knitters who said they'll never quilt, never do so, and they.
Hey.
You
said you'd never share that.
Yep, I'm raising my hand to that.
But the fact that you branched into quilting speaks to our crew as well too. So, you know, I really do appreciate your time and sharing this with people, because, you know, the work you do is an inspiration, obviously, but the way you do it and why you do it is also an inspiration, and people need to hear those stories.
And like, I would also add, as you mentioned, like, you know, just never say never, because when I started knitting, I said I didn't want to knit. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And then when somebody mentioned spinning, I said, why would anyone want to spin? Because, you know, there's so much beautiful yarn in the world. Why do you want to make your own? And then I'm doing that. And now I've started quilting, and somebody mentioned, have you tried dyeing your own fabric? And I'm like, are you crazy? There's so much fabric out there. Why would anyone want to dye your own fabric? And I can already see myself thinking about it.
That'll be next month.
Oh, it'll be nice.
Guarantee
yeah, that'll be
you.
Next month.
That'll be next month.
All right. If I start creating mugs, I'm blaming you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
Earlier, Sharon told me that he's still looking for an apprentice, and I don't think that I'm too old.
Yes.
So, Elaine, do you think you could just handle things so I could take 2 years off? I mean, just asking.
Am I too old to be an apprentice? That's
No. I want to go and do a bit of apprentice. I want you to take over here for 2 weeks.
I know. That's out of the question.
Okay, well,
No one is letting you go.
I'm trying, Sharon. I'm trying. I'm just letting you know I'm trying here.
I appreciate that.
But got all these people in my life, All right. Well, any other questions before we let our good friend Sharon go?
I have a quick one. What's next? Have you thought about what's
I
next?
don't know.
You
You're
don't know.
you're taking a class. You're taking a class. That's what's next.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm regarding quilting, I am doing a denim quilt. That's what my plan is to work on next. I don't know if I'll be able to sew through denim, but that would be another one. I am doing a very traditional quilt as well because my in-laws are visiting in 2 weeks, and my wife threatened me that she's going to go to the store and buy a quilt. And I'm like, no, let me make one. So that's going to be the next challenge, but it's going to be, it's cutting up squares and joining them together. I just want to get it done.
But you were saying earlier that you're taking a class for the first time on.
Yes, spinning. So I'm going to fly away. This is going to be my first fiber show that I'm going to be attending as an attendee rather than vending at. So I'm going to be in Kansas City, and this is happening mid-April. I'll be there for 2 days. One day I'll walk the show floor like everyone else does, which will be a welcome change for me. And then after that, on Saturday, I'm taking a full day class on spinning cotton long draw with James Long Draw. And it's going to be, I'm looking forward to that. Learning from somebody else. I have learned spinning mostly online, so it'll be nice to take an in-person class with someone and learn some new techniques.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, again, I would like to thank you for being with us tonight, telling us all about this. For those of you that said, the video will be online later tonight. I'm going to try by Tuesday afternoon to have the blog post up with some relevant information. We may even send out a newsletter to our crews, our people, so that they know it's out there. Love to get, and if you could, when you find out, I'd love it if you'd help me, spread the word and share the news of what Sharon is doing as well. I just think it would be good if, these people who are already doing good work get a chance to win this quilt. So it's one of the things I love about what you're doing, Sharon. So again, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you. Feels like every single time we can have you and have you talk about something completely new, and you'll still impress us all the time. For all of you, thank you for being here tonight. And with that, I'll let you all go.
All right. Yay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
night. Thank you.